What's up,
Facebook.
Lord?
We're just waiting on YouTube to go live.
Okay,
And YouTube's looking good too.
nice.
Perfect, perfect.
And once again, everyone, we're on every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, West Coast. We've been on for a few weeks now. Like I mentioned before, this is episode 24.
That's
Episode
right.
24. And we've been getting some great feedback, amazing feedback, via the live, the engagement that we get in the chat, the DMs that we receive, comments that we may receive on the recorded videos on YouTube, just a mix of everything. It shows that and proves that we're doing the right thing, what God has sent us to do. We do receive messages, and we put a number of topics on a weekly basis, just random topics. Pastor Carlos and I, we never discuss our life. Like, this is literally just, we get on and we just happen to align every single time, whether he puts a message out first and then we just run with it, or if I put out the message, it seems like we're always on the same page.
That's right.
Always on the same page. Uh, Another thing also, the engagement, we appreciate it in the chat. We do encourage our viewers to join us on the live if they want to put out a testimony, if they just want, your experience, maybe something you want to go ahead and discuss that may help someone else, that, someone else can relate to and can help. This is what this platform is all about. If you want to keep it anonymous, you do have the option on the bottom right corner. There's a bubble with a question mark in the middle. You can go ahead and drop your question, drop your statement, whatever it is that you want to discuss, yet you don't want to put your name out there, and we won't mention it because I'll be receiving the messages. I'll be more than happy to read it and give you the advice that you need, the response that you may need, Pastor Carlos, as well, and obviously prayer requests, same thing. If you want to go ahead and drop it in the chat, if you want to go ahead and join the live for that prayer request, if you want to go ahead and just keep it anonymous, um, drop it on the bottom right corner, that bubble with the question mark. Feel free to do so.
That's
And
right. That's right.
another thing also, we do encourage everyone, if you notice in the bottom, to go ahead and share the live. If you can, someone that may need to hear a good message, someone who needs to sit in the live to receive, just motivation, inspiration, in general, the help that they may need, just to the day to day, to keep pushing them, because we're here to grow together. So please do share it. You have the option there. Usually, when we do end our live, we do put the videos on YouTube. You can go ahead and grab the link and even share it via email, text, WhatsApp, you name it. All you got to do is copy and paste the link and send it to that person who may need to hear it. Send it to the chat, that you're in with the primos, the cousins, family members, friends. Just drop it in the chat. There's something that people do need to hear more of. We see the violence taking place. We see those videos that you usually scroll, comedy and stuff like that. But this is different.
Yep.
Not knocking what I just finished mentioning, but this is actually like real life stuff that can help another person, all the way from youth to adults. This is great for children. Definitely great for children to hear in, because the more they learn, the more they're aware, the more they can avoid and actually just take on life and not have to like uh, go through the same puddles we had to, or obstacles that we had to deal with. Or if they do go through the same obstacle, at least they'll know how to deal with that obstacle or situation.
Yep. And everybody knows somebody's going through it. Whether it's like mental health, physical health, relationship issues, family issues. Everybody knows somebody is going through something. And what we've seen here in testimony is that people that have connected that are going through things, they're finding that it's helpful. to help them push through it. And they, you know, and on top of that, a lot of people, even if you're not going through it, are learning something that they didn't know, that things that are going on in their life, whether it's positive or negative, or it's things that have happened in their past, they're learning a lot of like, okay, well, what are the root causes of it? You know what I'm saying? And they're getting to have an understanding, which ultimately is going to help equip you for the season that you're going to be in, you know, whether it's a season that you're in now, a season that you're going to encounter later, because life goes through seasons. You will encounter something at some point. It's good to help, you know, to prepare you for it. But it's a blessing to people. So especially if you know somebody is going through it, you know, why not help them? Help them by sending the message and being like, yo, I know you're going through it, but here's something that I know is going to help you, you know, because we've seen how a lot of people have been blessed by that. So most definitely, you know, don't hesitate to go ahead and do that, because you don't know who you're going to be blessing.
Definitely, definitely. And another thing I wanted to mention also, for notifications, there's been a change that has happened in on Instagram. On Instagram, I do post on a daily basis, and I would usually put the bell on the bottom left corner of the post, which is a notification. You have the options to click on it to get notified, right? To sign up and get notified every time for our lives every Thursday. That's I guess the reels, they're working on reels now, right? They're trying to avoid the regular posts and they want more reels on their platform. So we're unable to set the notification, that bell on the bottom left corner of the post. So what I've been doing is posting it in our story, right? I post it on my story. Pastor Carlos goes ahead and posts it on his story. But we also have another method. On the top right corner of the screen, on our profile, there's a bell. There you have the option to go ahead and turn on notifications for either posts, reels, and lives, right? Or videos, even videos. If you can go ahead, just turn on those notifications. You can turn all of them on. I believe it's like the option is always. So you can always get the notification one, especially for the live. Maybe you don't want the notification for the post. I mean, we do encourage everyone to get the notifications for post videos, because all we do is post like positive stuff. It may be a message you want to hear on that day where you need it the most. But definitely sign up for the live. Go ahead and turn on the notifications for the live.
That's right.
Just giving it a few to give others the chance to join in. Appreciate everyone who's on right now. I'm sure there's a lot going on, but for the simple fact that you take the time to join the live, does show that you want to receive this message. You want to be a part of the discussion today. And please feel free to, even if you just want to give simple thanks or hello, you know, just go ahead and feel free to join. You know,
that's right.
Feel free to join the live. But okay, so I guess we can get started now.
All right. So what you got for us today?
All right. So episode 24. Episode 24. I can't believe how time flies. This is episode 24. I feel like today's episode is linked to episode 23, 22, and 20. Because I believe 21, I wasn't on for that one. But even though that message you had, we can link it to this episode as well. Today I have, who am I? I want everyone to go ahead and think deep. Just let that question sink in. Look at yourself in the mirror if you have one next to you, if you have one in front of you. Who am I? Really ask yourself, who am I? I mean, you don't need a mirror for this. Close your eyes and ask yourself, who are you? Who am I? I went pretty deep with it this week. It was a lot that I was thinking about, a lot that I've experienced and went through. And obviously, I'm not the only one. I'm sure everyone who's viewing has gone through a lot or know of someone who's gone through it. So it's finding ourselves, right? So go ahead and ask yourself, who am I? Have you taken the time to find yourself, to get to know you? to understand who you are, why you are the way you are, why you think or behave a certain way, why you move how you move? Have you taken the time to accept you for who you are? This means your past, your appearance, in other words, the skin you're in, body type, weight, features, the trauma, confusing or hurtful moments, complexities of life in general, just you overall. Ask yourself, who am I? Who are you? Because we're going to dig deep today. And we all know how Pastor Carlos, he gets it in when he receives these type of messages. Once we get this and get a grasp, and the reason why I say a grasp, I feel my opinion is we can never get a full grasp of ourselves. Reason why I'm getting goosebumps as I'm saying this. Reason why is we never really know who we are because we're always stepping into something different, right? We make that decision. Whether it's a job, whether it's a hobby, whatever it is, we decide if we want to read a new book or you want to read the same book over and over. We decide if we want to deal with the same person or if it's time to move on. We're the ones that decide if we want to stay in that job or we need a new job, right? We are the ones that take that step to make those changes. Now, again, once we get this and get a grasp of who we are, we can identify, add, or subtract people, places, and things from our lives. Most importantly, making those internal changes needed in order for us to grow, develop, and create stability in multiple areas of our lives, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, despite of our past and experiences. So where is it that I'm trying to go with this? This plays a huge part because if you don't identify what it is that's going on, how are you going to be able to determine what are the changes that you need to make in your life? Right? How is it that we're going to do that? Now, Pastor Carlos, I really want you to jump in. So let me go ahead and drop this one. Take the time to look at yourself and tell yourself, I am who you say I am based on what you know. Therefore, careful with what you've been told and with what you think you know. Instead, hear me out or walk a mile in my shoes. I want to repeat that one more time. I need you to go ahead and close your eyes because I'm going to read this again. Take the time to look at yourself and tell yourself this. I am who you say I am based on what you know. Therefore, careful with what you've been told and with what you think you know. Instead, hear me out or walk a mile in my shoes. Pastor Carlos, what are you getting with that?
Oh man, I got so much just off the who am I part. You started as I felt the Lord was giving me stuff. I just started to hear some of the stuff that you said. That's why I was kind of like smiling and chuckling myself because it falls right in line. The majority of the issues that you have in your life is because you have no idea who you are. That's the problem.
Bingo.
Not one, and this is not for just for one person. This is for everybody. Like we're all included. That means I'm included in that as well. The issues that you have in your life are because you have no idea. You're not fully comprehending who you are. It's that simple. Now, different people deal with different issues because everybody has different levels of understanding who they are. That's the thing. But when you think about it, why do you suffer any kind of issue that you suffer? It's because you have no clue who you are, or you're failing to understand in that area who you are, right? And everybody goes through it. Everybody has their own battle. That's why everybody gets attacked by the enemy in a different way. Because some of us have fully comprehended who we are in certain areas. But there's other areas in our lives where we have a very difficult time believing who we are. So it's like, oh, God must say that God tells me that I'm this or that. I fully believe that I'm this or this or this or this. But in this area of my life where I'm struggling, where I seem to have the most uncertainty, I don't know who I am. Like, if you really get down to it, I don't know who I am in that area.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you struggle. Because here's the thing. If you fully understood who you were, you would have no issues having faith that whatever the issue is coming against you is going to turn around. But most of us, like, when you think about it, why do you get depressed? Why do you have anxiety? It's easy to throw out medical terms and say it's a mental health issue. You're suffering with clinical depression. You're suffering with postpartum depression. You're suffering with this kind of anxiety, that kind of anxiety. You're having, you suffer from panic attacks. Believe me, I've had a couple of panic attacks in my past. So, but all of that stems from, do you understand who you are? Because here's the deal. Everything that we suffer, every attack that you suffer in your life, we've talked about, especially in the last few weeks, the enemy coming and only bringing up your past, right? From the very beginning, the attack that the enemy has had against us, and I'm talking like, as us as human beings, has been to put in doubt who you are, right? Why? It's because the very word of God will tell you from almost the very beginning, God made us in his image. So when you think about it, who are you? Right off the bat, you have to say, well, I'm somebody that's made in the image of God, right? Now, I'm going to hit y'all with two things here. Number one, he says that, the word says that you are made in his image. And it talks about how, like, we were made to have dominion over everything here on earth. In other words, we were supposed to essentially be the image of God here on earth. So when we're talking about that God reigns over everything, we were supposed to reign over everything victoriously here on earth. But here's the problem. The enemy already tried to corrupt the image from the very beginning. That's where you have Adam and Eve and the whole, issue that happened there, right? That took away from them understanding who they were, like why they were made the way that they were made. So you don't know who you are, or you don't understand why God even has you here. That's why you suffer the issues that you suffer. And if we get back to the very beginning, God made all of us in his image. In his image, he made us. That's what the word says. If you don't know God, if you have no relationship with God, how do you know what your image is? It's really that straightforward. If you have no idea, if you have no relationship, because, if you meet a stranger, you don't know anything about them. You haven't learned the details of how they look. You don't know their mannerisms. You don't know their way of speaking. You don't know when they're being funny. You don't know when they're being sarcastic. You don't know the details. But what happens is, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a relationship, as you cultivate and build that relationship, you get to learn more about who that person is. The more time you spend with them, the more details you start to pick up about who they are, right? So you start to be able to say, oh, you know what? This person is really into health. They're like a health nut. This person's really into sports. This person's really into cooking. This person is, really has a heart for people. This person here can have a quick temper. This person here can have this, is that. You start to get the details of who that person is because you are consistently there with them. You're building a relationship. You have a relationship with that person. So if you spend years on a daily having a relationship with that person, you'll get to know who they are. There's no detail. If somebody says, yo, can you tell me what does this person like? How is this person in the morning? How is this person with this? Real quick, you're real quick. Oh, this person is like this, or they like that. Oh, you need a birthday idea. This is what they're into. This is what they're into in this moment. This is what they were into before. You can start to get those details. Now let's backtrack. You're made in the image of God. Well, if you have no relationship with the Lord, how do you know what the image of God is? And if you're made in his image, how do you know what your image is? Because you're made in his image. So you have no idea when Jesus is like, you're going to do, the same works as me, even greater works than me. Well, how do you have any idea if you don't know who you are? You have no idea what his image is. You don't know what he's capable of. You don't know what he's done. You don't know what he says about the situation. You have no idea. So when you encounter a situation, you encounter all these difficulties because you're clueless. You're clueless on how to handle it. You're clueless on how he says it, on who he says you are. You're clueless on him saying that, like, yo, you're not supposed to deal with this, or here's my way of having you deal with. In all areas of your life, there's an answer. But if you don't have the relationship, you don't have the answer. And then what happens is when you don't have the answer, it's kind of like, to bring it down into like an earthly kind of way, right? Let's say that you have no idea. We talk about, like, school teaches you a lot of things, but what's one of the things that school doesn't teach you? School never teaches you anything about finances. So nobody in life, for the most part, especially the Hispanic community, the African American community, especially those two communities, nobody really ever teaches you about finance. So what's one of the things that we deal with as a people? Financial struggles. And what happens, because we have no idea on what somebody who is successful about finances tells you, if you don't have anybody mentoring you in that, you've never connected with anybody on that, you don't have that, right? A lot of times we dig a hole deeper and deeper and deeper in that, because we don't have relationship with somebody that says, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to live that way. You're not supposed to, spend on this. You should cut this out. We make that mistake because we don't know the right thing to do in that moment, in that situation. And the same thing goes with everything in your life. Everything in your life that you're dealing with, God has an answer. And he has his answer based on his design, his godly design for you, that if you knew him, you would know what his answer is. But when you don't know his answer, you struggle, you get nervous, you get depressed, you deal with all these different issues. And on top of that, a lot of times you'll make the problem worse because you have no idea on how to deal with it, for real. All because it gets back to the root of the whole question. You have no idea who you are. And then what happens? I deserve to be living like this. Oh, my family was always broke. I deserve to be broke. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Yo, if that's your situation and that's your season, that's okay. But there's a difference between going through that season and being like, I know God's going to get me through the season and I'm working on it and everything. There's a difference between that and false humility, which says, I'm meant to be broke and I'm happy to be broke. I'm going to be, if I, my family was like that. My mom was broke. My pops was broke. My grandmother was broke. My family's always been broke. We've always had financial issues. So I'm going to be the humble person and be happy being broke. Bro, don't fall into that false humility. Or this is the best I can get out of this relationship. I deserve to be in this relationship. This is the best that I can have. You need to look to see what God has to say about your relationships, because God has a lot to say on the relationships. And there's a lot of people suffering through relationships, through certain relationships, when you don't have any business being in that relationship. But there you are. This is the best that I can get. And if he or she is cheating on me, I deserve it. And if they're treating me bad, I deserve it. And if they're always a jerk, I deserve it. Who is telling you that? Like, for real, who is telling you that? That comes from you not knowing who you are. But like you said, once you have an understanding on who you are, you can start to identify what you need to cut out. And I'm not just talking about physical things. I'm not just talking about habits. Sometimes what you need to cut out is certain people in your life that are toxic to the design of who you are, of you are supposed to be. But we don't do that. We fall into that trap because we're clueless on who we are. and then we're living through the consequence of it. And a lot of times we stay in that situation much longer than we're supposed to be, or some people stay in that situation forever because they stay blinded, and that's not how we're supposed to be living. So I think it's an excellent topic, because what has been the whole reason of us doing this? It's to educate people, to make you understand, what God has to say about your life. And that's starting to break chains, because the very fact that you don't understand who you are, and you're being fooled into thinking that who you are right now is who you're supposed to be, bro, that's a chain of slavery. Because you look at slaves. Why do slaves tend to stay where they are? They think that that's their purpose. They think that that's where they deserve to be. They think that they don't deserve any better. So the fact that you don't move on from that, you're a slave to something. And you're a slave to something that's telling you lies about yourself. And you need to understand who you are. So I think it's excellent.
Definitely, that was good. That was good. So I want to go ahead and add on to the last thing I said, which was, instead, hear me out or walk a mile in my shoes. Not many will be able to handle your hurt, your darkest moments, your complexion, insecurities, your reason for thinking or behaving a certain way, maybe because of trauma, bad moments, or experiences. Not many will be able to handle your walk, your journey, or your life. Now, there's been so many times where people want to go ahead and make assumptions. They want to go ahead and, talk down on you. They want to go ahead and talk about you to someone else, comment, criticize, whatever it is. But they don't take the time to actually to get to know you, to get to know what's been going on. What's the reason for whatever it is that they're trying to figure out. And I feel like if more people were to understand themselves, to find themselves, and finding yourself means that eventually you will heal. Because once you get a good understanding of self, you're going to heal. You're going to help others heal, right? So it'll be like a chain reaction if that was to happen. But because of what happens in this life is the total opposite. There's a lot of people hurting other people, right? Why is it? They don't know who they are. Sometimes they don't even know why they're reacting a certain way. Sometimes they're unable to identify the reason why they're reacting a certain way. Now, if they were able to identify, they can get the help that they need, right? The therapy that they need, whether it's from a third party or even just working on yourself, working out or meditating or whatever it is, whatever your form of relief is, the world would be a better place. We've heard this many times before, right?
Yep.
And people think it's impossible, but it's actually not that impossible if everyone were to apply and identify who they are. People like to criticize, judge, and belittle people who commit the mistakes they haven't or never committed. Um, People fail to understand and realize. People fail to understand and realize that everyone is different and their journeys. Many fail to take the time to learn or ask why. Could it be the environment the person came from, the environment they put themselves in, through self or affiliation of such kind, like friendship, relationship, or simply just an association. This could be in schools, the neighborhood you're in, or the one that you came from, between family or friends, or those who are of influence, whether it's good or bad. You know, and I feel like we're digging deep here. And this message is really going to help people. Uh, like we spoke about a few weeks ago, realizing, right? Identifying. This is why I said that this episode links with our other episodes, 23, 22, and 20. Because the more we know about ourselves, the more we can avoid, the more we can actually help someone else. If, what I'm unable to identify, maybe by me talking to Pastor Carlos, he'll be able to tell me why I'm acting a certain way, why I'm thinking a certain way, why am I dealing with the situation that I'm dealing with now? Sometimes we can't get past it. And we spoke about this last week. We tend to stay in the past, not because we want to. This is unconsciously for many,
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously. You know, you'll tell someone, you know what, you gotta heal, man. You gotta. What do you mean I gotta heal? They gotta heal. No, you gotta heal. Everyone needs to heal. Everyone needs to heal because it's not in a relationship, a friendship, whatever. It's not one. It's always more than one person, right?
Yep.
It's always more than one. Um, Now we tend to beat ourselves up, right? Like you mentioned when you were giving the message, we beat ourselves up because of the times that we don't understand. We don't take the time to figure it out, identify, work on ourselves. Um, Late, like I can even say this about me. It got to a point in my life where I was working on personal development for a while. And looking back, I remember exactly how I started. And that would be by going to have lunch or dinner alone, right? I'm not going to lie. I've never sat in a movie. There's people that go and they watch a movie by them, and there's nothing wrong with that. I
Yeah.
haven't done it. You know what I mean? But it's your form of relief, your form of discoveries, of figuring it out, stepping out of your comfort zone, right? When we're talking about identifying, it's really stepping out of the comfort zone. Because sometimes there's a lot of things that you'll get attached to in the comfort zone. And what is that? Blaming others
Yep.
and not actually looking at yourself, complaining instead of finding a solution, using all the excuses in the world because it's much easier to use an excuse rather than actually going, for the solution. You know what? Let me go ahead and I got to fix myself up. I'll give you a good example for those who want to go to the gym. What's the universal excuse? Oh, I work too much. Um, I do too many hours. Now, there are cases where people do work two jobs and it's actually impossible, right? But sometimes we have to choose our battles, like we mentioned a few weeks ago. Instead of complaining and using the excuse, accept the fact that you're working hard, but you also have to try and figure it out. If there's something that's affecting you, you know what? Maybe I have to find another source of income that doesn't require for me to be using 16 hours of my day. Let me go ahead and work my 8 and maybe work another 4. Maybe I can do something independently. But then I can focus on the other 4 hours on my health. Let me go ahead and take the time to eat better. I may not have time to work out, but I can actually take the time to eat better, cook better meals, right? Um, there's a lot of things that we can do. There's a lot of things that we can do. So, um, what I say at that point, instead of beating ourselves up, we have to go ahead and accept it, admit and accept. And at this point, I say, tell yourself, remind yourself, I will change. I will improve. I will continue to develop. I will continue to grow for the better. I am not who I was. I am not who you say I am. I am not the mistake I've committed or mistakes. I am not that vulnerable person. I am not that weak person. And also remind yourself, you are far from perfect.
That's right.
So I had to touch all those points because we need to get a full grasp of what it is that we have to tell ourselves in order for us to improve and continue to develop. We're always going to have hiccups along the way. We're always going to have obstacles. It's very easy for us to overcome one obstacle. And when we're facing the next, it's easy for us to give up and say, man, but there's always obstacles. And life is about obstacles. It's all about stages. When you overcome one stage, there are so many other problems that are ahead that are this small to you because of what you dealt with in the past. And we tend to not value those dark and troubled moments. It's hard. It's hard. It's been hard for all of us, one way or another. And for those who haven't experienced those dark moments or it wasn't as bad, you have a whole life ahead of you. Not saying to expect the worst, but just be prepared. Just be prepared. And by you telling yourself and preparing yourself mentally, emotionally, you'll be able to overcome no matter what obstacle, overcome any obstacle that you face. I remember there was many obstacles that I was facing, and I continue to face obstacles till this day. But I handle it so much better because I know who I am and I know what I'm capable of. So I know if there's a problem that presents, that comes to my life, I already know the mindset I have. I already know the willpower, my emotional state. Now we can't get crazy. We can't get crazy. Why is that? Because it does not make the situation better. When you just take your time and think it through, how am I going to execute this? Along with how have I executed my obstacles in the past? You go ahead and merge those two together, you're a major force.
Yep.
Moving forward. I want to add this to this statement that the message that I put out as well. There are different opinions about people, places, and things. Now that we're talking about a whole life ahead of us, the different stages, right? The experiences, the past. There are different opinions about people, places, and things. We have to be careful because people do have different views, perspectives, experiences, stages, or phases. A great example is the majority of us may have committed bad acts in our past, whether it was intentional or not. But we've changed and done great things for self and for others. While there are people who have always done good for others, but now turned bad due to the bad experience, hurt, or failure in general. Right? What side of the table are you on? Are you on the good side doing good deeds, or are you on the bad side? And when I say bad side, doesn't mean that you're a bad person. What I'm trying to say is, are you full of grudges? Are you full of anger? Are you full of regret? Are you just damaged overall, that you're actually causing damage on the other side, or the other person, or the job that you're in? Identify who you are. Who are you? What side of the table are you on based on your experience? I want to leave it there, big bro, so you can go ahead and chime in on that, because I know,
Man,
you got a lot going.
you unpacked a lot there. First of all, when it comes to, I'm going to go back again to where we went earlier in the conversation. Read y'all the easy verse. God made us in his image. And I'm talking us, not just you. It's because a lot of times people will read that for themselves, and they need to understand that it doesn't say God made you in his image. He says he made man. He made everybody. Yeah, all human beings he made in his image. So what that means is you need to understand. We talked in the very beginning about you need to get who you are, which is you're somebody that's made in his image. When you understand that you're made in his image, you know what else you need to understand? You need to understand that other people, everybody else, is made in his image too. So ultimately, the design that we should be having, we should have the full realization that I am somebody that I'm not quite understanding who I am. I need to understand who I am, and God has something much better for me, right? I need to be, the creation that he made me to be, but that includes everybody else. So when you see everybody else going through it, or this person's got an attitude, everybody's got their own quirks, right? Everybody's made in different ways. This is not to say that everybody's going to be cookie cutter. That's not what that means, because he makes each of us different. But the thing is that even though he makes us each different with our own personalities and everything like that, right? Ultimately, when we get down to it, he makes us in his image. That means that if I know that he made all of us in his image, that means I should want to be restored to that image. I should want Jay to be restored to that image. I would want my coworker to be restored to that image. I should want everybody to be restored to that image. Because when I understand that, I have a love for everybody else, because I know that the same way that I'm going through it, everybody's going through it. Because nobody's perfect. Everybody's disconnected. Everybody's missing what they're supposed to be to some degree. So that means that I get to, number one, have a little bit more grace with myself, right? Love myself a little bit more, because I know that I need to get back to where I'm supposed to be. But that also gives me the understanding I need to understand who everybody else is too, that they're off of their path, that I should want them to end up where they're supposed to be, that I should want to see them restored. You know why? Because right after God says that, after he talks about that we're supposed to be in his image and he created us that way, men and men and women both, he created us that way. Right
Mm-hmm.
after that, he says, be fruitful and multiply. What does that mean? That's not about go have kids. That means be fruitful and multiply. So everything that you touch, everything that you're involved in should bear fruit, should multiply. So if he's giving you a job that pays you $10 an hour, you should be able to multiply that because he's giving it to you. It doesn't matter if it's $5, it doesn't matter if it's $10, it doesn't matter if it's $1,000 an hour. You should be able to multiply it because he wants you to have it and to be able to multiply it. If it's talking about being able to, if it's talking about, let's say, like your health, right? I love the fact that you brought up health. If you're not doing well health-wise, and I'm trust me, I'm included in this because I've been knowing that I need to go work out and I haven't found the time. And it's always the excuse of like, yo, I got to work, I got my kids, I got ministry, I got this, I got that. You know me. There's always a lot going on, right? But that does not give the excuse because in my health, the Lord to this point has given me health. And what am I supposed to do with that? I'm supposed to multiply my health. That means I'm supposed to do whatever I need to do to maintain and get better in my health. That's all of us. Now that's, everybody's different. So I understand I know that there's some people that have really struggled with weight. And I remember talking to a person that I had as a mentor a while, years and years ago. And I remember her telling me like, yo, you know what? I'm overweight, like severely overweight, but it's not because I'm not trying. It's just the way that my body works. And I remember I would go to lunch with her almost on a daily. It would be like the way my body works. You see what I'm eating. When I go home, I eat the same thing. I'm not eating late. I'm walking from my job to the apartment and all that stuff. And that was a good like 20 something minute walk. So you got to imagine this person's walking like an hour a day. Plus when they're out and about, like when they would go from one office to another office on the campus or whatever, they would walk. They wouldn't take, a car or a bus. They would be walking. So obviously they were getting some degree of physical activity as well. And, it's one of those things that because you're overweight, you're also not you're not working out because the weight is a lot. And they were trying to work out. And even still nowadays, praise God, they've been working out and you can see that it's been a lifestyle change and they've lost a significant amount of weight, but they're still not where they need to be. But you know what though? They took a bad health situation and were multiplying. They were being fruitful. God gave them the health to be able to do it. And they were being fruitful in that and making it better, which a lot of us don't do that. So it's every area of your life. You should be able to make that bear fruit. That means you should be able to work on it so that it gets better, so that it has a good result and something good comes out of it. Does that mean that you're never going to deal with, cancer or diabetes or whatever? No, everybody's situation is going to be different. You're going to get hit with something, which we'll go there in just a second. But that's something that I want you to understand. You are meant to be fruitful and multiply, but that's the case for everybody. So when you see somebody that you are with, coworker, friend, family, whatever, your kids, brother, sister, it doesn't matter what it is, and you see that they're not being fruitful, that they're struggling, you should have a heart for them, because if you're made in God's image, then that means that you're made to love everybody else too.
Mm-hmm.
Really, if you understand who you are, that means that you need to understand if I'm made in his image, he loves everybody because he created everybody. So he wants good for everybody. That should naturally come out of me as well. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes people will get on your nerves and you probably want to go smack them because they're so difficult to work with. But at the end of the day, deep down in your core, it should be like, yo, I really want to, just backhand slap this person because they're being so difficult. But deep down in my core, I should want better for this person, especially if I see that they're not being fruitful and multiplying in areas of their life. You know what I'm saying? That's something that I want you to understand. Another thing too is that Going hand in hand with what I just said right now, a lot of times we're like, no, but this person doesn't deserve it. They're this, they're that, they do all this stuff wrong. Well, Jesus himself told you, do not judge, or you too will be judged by that same measure. By that same measure. So guess what? If you're like, oh, this person is being a jerk, I don't know what's wrong with them, and you're like, you always bashing them, you don't even want to have anything to do with them. Like, you have no love for that person, point blank, period. Guess what? If you're judging them on that, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what they're going home to. They may be having to take care of somebody, maybe a parent that's ill and they're having to take care of them. Maybe a family member's ill. Maybe they go home to an abusive husband or wife. You know, I think we're seeing with the whole Johnny Depp thing, it goes both ways. You know, you
Wow.
get
Yeah. Yeah.
you get abusive husbands and wives. It goes both ways.
I saw a little preview of that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe you don't know their kids are dealing with bullying, and because of that, their kids have a certain attitude. So when they get home, a kid who was acting perfect all of a sudden got the ill attitude, and they're having to deal with that. And it's like, yo, they're constantly just dealing with a kid who's just they don't know, and they're struggling, and it hurts them. If you're a parent, you understand when you see the change in your child, it hurts. You wonder what's going on, and what can I do to help? And that's an additional stress. You don't know what the stress is on their life. So guess what? If you can't show that grace and you're judging them on that, when it comes time for somebody else to look at why you're acting a certain way, you're going to be judged by that same measure.
Yep.
So that again goes hand in hand, you know, with that. And one other thing, one last thing before I pass it to you that I also want to focus on is there's some people, a lot of y'all that don't really have many issues, and you right now are like, yo, but my life is pretty good. You know, overall, I feel happy. Work's going great. Family's good. My health is, you know, money. Everything's great. As far as I'm concerned, could there be little things here and there I could change? Yeah, but overall, I'm pretty happy with my life, right? Meanwhile, you got other people on the other end of the spectrum who are really struggling. And it seems like the flood is there every single day. They're getting hit with something else. It's just a constant battle every day on the daily. It's an attack. It's a battle. Here comes one thing. Here comes another thing. You know, you're getting hit left and right. It's like the enemy hitting you with combos and stuff. And you're like, what do I do? You know? But again, that's why you want to have that love toward people. That you know, that want inside of you to see people do better, to help them do better. And help them do better doesn't mean that you have to be there 24/7, that you have to give them financially or anything like that. Sometimes being, you know, helpful and, you know, to help and want to see them do better is just a simple conversation.
Yeah.
Just check up on them, see how they're doing. Maybe give them some words of encouragement, some advice, you know, because at the end of the day, it's so funny because I was just talking, I was just preaching about this yesterday. Life is seasons. God himself says there's a time to dance, there's a time to grieve, there's a time to live and a time to die. There's a time for this, a time for that. God creates both. Both are going to come. They're seasons, right? But in that, you need to understand somebody's going, while you're rejoicing, somebody's going to be in that time of grieving. And there will be a point in which those people are finally better off and they're grieving. That might be, or excuse me, they're rejoicing in that moment. And all this time that you were rejoicing, this might be the time that you're going to be grieving. This might be the time that you're getting hit left and right, that your kid's acting up, that you get some bad health, you know, diagnosis, that your wife gets the same, all these different things start coming in, you know? And it's just like, it's never ending. But the example that I gave yesterday, and I think it goes perfectly. I love, you know, the last, like, you know, ever since I was in like college, I traveled to a lot of different places, right? I spent all my life in New York. And the moment that I went to college, I started traveling. One of the best places that I traveled to was California, was Cali, LA, San Diego. I love LA and San Diego because the temperature, the weather, the entire year, perfect. Perfect. I can only remember one summer that I was there that it was like
It rains like once a year, or
Exactly.
something
And
like that.
it was like blazing hip hop and R&B outside. It was like 90 something, 100 something. And that was a heat wave for them, but that was out of the norm. The remainder of the, that was something you get once in a blue. And I would be there in the winter. I would visit in the winter. I would visit in the summer, and the temperature was perfect. They didn't know seasons for the most part because usually year round it's the same. It never changes because of where they are. Meanwhile, being from New York, I know what springtime is like. Might be a little chilly, might be a little warm. You might get a mixture of both. You get the rain, right? A good amount of rain.
Or humid, like
Or
today.
humid, Summer, it's hot. Again, blazing hip hop and R&B with that humidity. The heat from the cars and all that stuff, the train and everything. Fall, most places don't get a beautiful fall. New York can give you a very beautiful fall. Winter has its own thing. But God tells you in his very word, he makes the seasons and he makes everything beautiful. You should be, enjoying the seasons, right? But here's where I'm going to go with it. Somebody in New York, let's say we're up north, not too far up north, of course, knows they got a wardrobe and what they need, their necessities for fall, for winter, for
All
spring,
season.
for summer. They even down to the cars. Your car might have all season tires so that you can deal with everything in all seasons. You might have snow tires ready to go to in the summer, in the winter, change it up to snow. People are equipped when they're used to there being different seasons. Meanwhile, I remember when I started going to college, I met people who were from California, LA, right, San Diego, never experienced winter. So guess what happened the moment that they were up north? And when they got there, it was summertime, early fall, right? They were fine summertime and early fall. They felt at home. Well, some of them did. Some of them weren't even used to the humidity, right? So that was another thing. They weren't used to the humidity, but overall, they were okay summer and fall. But when the late fall hit and the winter hit, they didn't know exactly what kind of coat or jacket to buy. They didn't have the right equipment for the for the clothing. So the first time that they dealt with cold, they were freezing, bro. They didn't know how to deal with that season. And it took them time to get accustomed to it. So where are we going with it? If you don't understand that there's different seasons and you need to look at the positive of each season, no matter how difficult it is, you will struggle in that season because you're not adapting. And what you need to do is you need to understand there's going to be a good time and there's going to be a bad time. And when you have that understanding, guess what? When you get out of your bad season, you're going to understand that there's a good season and you're going to enjoy it. But if you're in a good season, you're going to understand at some point a bad season is going to come. I'm going to mentally prepare for that bad season. It doesn't mean that you worry about the bad season. It just means two things. Number one, you can prepare yourself for the bad season that's going to come because you know it's going to come. So as you start to see signs of a bad season, you can slowly, the same way that you don't go, summer is hot one day and then winter comes and all of a sudden it's cold, you don't go there. You have a period where it slowly goes into fall and then it slowly goes into winter, right? Bad seasons in your life don't tend to come immediately. It tends to slowly get worse. You can get to understand the pattern of when things slowly get worse to say, oh, I think the season's changing. Let me start getting my gear ready to deal with that season. Let me start making my adjustments to deal with that season, right? And then the beautiful thing of it is we know that it's cyclical. So if I'm in a bad season, I know that there's going to be a good season. If there's a good season, I know that there's going to be a bad season. So what's the benefit of that? If I'm in a good season, I can tell the signs that are going to get me into the bad season so I can equip myself. But if I'm in a bad season, Everybody has had at least one period of time in their life that they can say, this was a good time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I remember things going right. I couldn't do anything wrong. Guess what? Because those times come, and they will come again, and they'll come better than before. When you're in that bad season, you can have faith and hope that I just got to ride out this storm. And if I lived a great time of my life before, I'm going to live an even better time once I get past this storm. I remember, I think I sent this to you one time, little bro. There's a great image that goes around social media every now and then. And that image just has these very key words: black background, white letters. What do the white letters say? Very basic. Suicide is a permanent solution
Mm-hmm.
to a temporary problem. This is not to negate that people go through mental health issues, okay? But when you understand your design and you understand what God has to say about things, you will understand that no matter how bad things look, a better season will come. It does not mean that you're not going to be freezing cold in the winter. It just means that you know that spring and summer is going to come at some time. Even if you feeling like you stuck in the ice age, right? Even if it seems like it's extended winter, spring and summer will come at some point. The darkness that you're in, we all know winter has that dark, extended dark period, and it's cold. That dark period that you're in will not last forever. It never does. Even in the winter, you get a short period of time that you have sunlight, even if it's less than what you have in the spring and the summer. So you can move forward in the hope. But the problem is that we don't know who we are, and we don't know what God has to say about the situation. We can get desperate, and we lack faith, and we forget, and we start to put all this pressure on ourselves. I've been through it, so don't believe me. Don't act like this is somebody who's never been through it that's telling you it. I'll be 100% transparent. I'm going through it now, little bro. It's probably been some of the most difficult times,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been for a period of years. And there have been moments where we've had the conversation, and it's like, bro, at this point, I just have to laugh about it. Why back to back to back to back to back to back to back? Like, why is all this happening? It's like it never ends. But I am solidified in understanding what God has to say about the situation and my design. And I've gotten closer to the design. I've been more focused on him. I'm more at peace now than when things were great.
Mm-hmm.
When I was making, when I was making $200,000, $300,000, $350,000 a year for me, I had anxiety like nobody's business. Now I could be on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and I have peace, because you know what? God says that if you
Some
look,
people won't understand that.
They won't understand it. I've had peace because I've understood. It doesn't mean that it hasn't been easy. It doesn't mean that it hasn't been difficult. But what has happened is where God has told me I need to focus on the beauty of that season, right? What's happened there is being focused on the beauty of that season. I've gotten to see him personally move in my life. I've gotten to see him supply where it's not me doing the work. It's him doing the work. I've gotten to see him get it, get mixed in there, get all up in the mix to fix things. I've seen him move like you wouldn't believe, that gives me hope. And then I've been able to discern, why am I going through it? because I've started to walk toward the calling that I had. But he was gracious enough to let me know beforehand, which a lot of people don't know. I got word from somebody who God speaks through very often. God gave me the warning years ago. He said, yo, you've been good all these years. You're about to enter a period where I'm going to take a lot of things away. And at the time, I had my own imagining as to what that was. And I was like, seriously? Okay, well, at that time, I didn't really believe like that. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this person's
Especially
just
with the
talking
way things
rings.
were going.
Especially with the way things were going. It was like,
how you're probably thinking to yourself, how bad can it get?
exactly. I'm thinking, what? We talking from 300, 350K to 150? I'll manage. That's no problem. Little did I, sometimes I sit and I'm like, word, have we reached the bottom yet? Like, come on, where we at? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not just talking finances. There's been hit after hit after hit, number of different things. But where some people like to give the enemy credit and will be like, oh, it's the enemy attacking, blah, 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 blah. No, when God let me know about it beforehand, he had a plan. He has a plan in that. I know he's got a plan in that. So I can rejoice in the fact that, at least he let me know ahead of time. You know what I'm saying? At least I know that he planned it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that he's bringing the bad things. It's just meaning that he's allowing it. So he has a purpose because he knows I love him. So it's going to work for my good, ultimately. And bro, I can't tell you the amount of things that I've cut out of my life. Again, we talk about getting back to the original design. So when you get back to the design, when you know who you are, you start to identify things that you need to get rid of.
Big time.
There's people, that I've let go of my life. There's things physically, financially that I've let go of my life. Bro, there's things that it's like, I didn't realize how much I was spending on certain things that when I was forced to cut them out, I was like, yo, I still have this. I still got this subscription. I still got this thing or that thing. And I would be like, man, but me, myself, I would be like, man, I don't know if I can let that go. I mean, I feel like one day I might want to use that. I might want to stream a video off that service. I might want to listen.
Haven't even touched it for months.
I hadn't touched it forever. And then finally, when I was like, you know what, let's get rid of it and see. I haven't even looked for it since. So what does that mean? I was wasting resources, and I'm not just talking finances. I was wasting finances. I was wasting energy. I was wasting time. I was wasting focus. I was wasting so many things on my life that I was throwing away that God could have had me using somewhere else. I was throwing them away. And he had to allow me to get to this moment through everything that he's had me go through the last few years. Because he said that he was going to prune. I mean, there's a Bible verse that talks about how he's going to, like a tree, he's going to like start pruning those things, right? I've been living through that. And when there's things that you're wasting away at, if you really want to be, to be restored, right? To understand who you are, there's going to be things that he's going to start to cut off. That it's like, this relationship is bad for you. This friendship is terrible. You don't need to be messing with this family member. Yo, stop wasting your finances here. Stop wasting your energy talking to this person over there. Stop tending to this person over here. Stop sowing the seed of money over here. Get rid of all these services over here. He will start to get rid of things left and right. Even if you weren't paying attention when he wanted, when he was probably letting you get rid of it yourself, he will put you in a situation where you're going to be forced to do those things. And then ultimately you'll be like, yo, I didn't realize that I didn't need that. Now I'm realizing it. And guess what? I'm grateful, because when the season goes from fall to winter and we start getting back into spring and summer in my life, those things are no longer going to be there. Which means that that time, that energy, that money, that relationship, that this, that, there's going to be better things that are going to grow from that. Again, we go back to the fruitful and multiply, right? When you start getting rid of things on a tree that, like, this is the area that bears fruit, and this is like these are the branches that, like, yo, like they're dead, but somehow some of the nutrients are going there, but they're never being fruitful. And you're like, yo, let me cut those branches so that these branches over here can start letting out better fruit, right? When you realize that and you start cutting it off, you start seeing better things flowing there, multiplying there in those areas. And guess what? Those branches that you cut off, a lot of times, the tree will grow in other areas, or that branch will regrow and it'll turn into something that's fruitful. So it's like, I think this is a word of motivation for anybody. Especially, I feel like it's in the sense of relationships. Some of y'all have had to cut off relationships that it might have even hurt to get rid of that relationship. But maybe you found that in getting rid of that relationship, the relationships that you do have, maybe with your kids, maybe with your family, maybe with your spouse, maybe with your partner, maybe with your siblings, whatever, you know, maybe with your friends. Maybe you've realized that getting rid of the things that were taking away, that were being toxic, right? Maybe you're realizing that now these other relationships are doing better because you've focused on them a little bit more. Or maybe the other branch was your job. Like you realize that getting rid of this job is allowing these relationships to be better. Or since I got rid of this relationship, this job is better, or my health is better. Guess what? That branch that you cut off, when it grows back and it's replaced, will be replaced with a better job, a better relationship, better health, better whatever it is. And it's going to be fruitful in that area. So you didn't lose anything. Because when it's toxic, you don't want that in your system. You don't want that in your life. Because it's gonna eat away at the good things. Just know if you're going through a bad season, or in any area of your life you're going through a bad moment, there's a purpose behind it. It's temporary, but look at the purpose. Why am I in that season? And please don't blame yourself, because when you blame yourself, the enemy will put it like it's your fault. Don't blame yourself. Know that there is a purpose in regards to why you are in that season. And just enjoy the fact that you're in that season, even if it's difficult. Enjoy the fact that you are in that season, that it's difficult. And try to ask and evaluate, meditate on, why am I in a period of difficulty in this section of my life, or my life in general? And when you find the reason why you are, then you can start to see what God maybe wants to eliminate. And trust me, in the end of the day, there will be a day in which when it all turns around, you're going to be like, yo, that sucked. That was difficult. But you know what? I feel better for it. And I got rid of a lot of things that I didn't need to have in my life. This was not working for me. This job was not working for me. This relationship was not working for me. This family member was not working for me. All these different things were not working for me. And you're going to find that now that you're in that good season, better things start to flow. And you're going to be like, I'm so thankful I dealt with that I had to go through that. Because now I'm in a better place. And I'm going to be moving forward without these things that were holding me back. So believe me, for anybody that's going through it, it might be difficult, but it will get better. And later on, you will rejoice in the fact that you went through it.
And we've mentioned this multiple times, where difficult times will teach you the most lessons. You know, that's where my opinion is where the most development happens.
Facts.
Yeah, because if life was so easy and you never had to deal with any trouble, any obstacles, like what are you going to learn from it? How are you going to build? How are you going to better yourself or your family or others? How are you going to do it if you don't go through those difficulties? Because when you receive the good, it's actually a privilege. You know, it's basically what you've earned based on what you went through, what you've learned, you know, where you tell yourself, this is not where I want to be, right? Because if it was so easy, it would be so easy for everyone to be up top.
Yep.
And when I say up top, I'm not trying to, you know, put people in the upper class, middle class, and poor. No, no. What I'm trying to say is, I mean, that's what life really is, right? But we have to make it work no matter where we're at, no matter what our position is, you know, what's our financial situation. We still have the ability, we have we have what it takes to improve our life, to make it different, to obtain anything that you have in mind, whether it's material, you know, that mindset, the shift in mindset, just in general, we're able to go after everything. Um, Big bro, I'm glad that towards the end, right, of the message, where you chimed in, you mentioned how there's people where you realize, oh, this person was no good for me, or this job was no good for me, or the environment, you know, like in the workspace wasn't good, the household, wherever your hangout spot is, just in general. I want people to think about a question here. And I think moving forward, you know, if they ask themselves, and you know, because you don't have to like literally ask someone else. This is actually a question for you to ask yourself when someone causes harm or a situation or you know an argument, debate, whatever it is. This is the best way to avoid it. What chapter of my life did the person meet me? What chapter of their life did you meet them? So when you have a situation, if you ask yourself, man, you're basically asking yourself, why are they, why did he or she just do that? Or why did he or she just say that? The first thought is, don't take it personal. You know, it's it's easier said than done. But when you know how to control that emotion and you're aware not to take it personal and understand and try to understand why they might have reacted that way, even though it's wrong, you'll find more peace in many situations in your life than ever before. Why? Because you'll have a better understanding of who you are and who that person might be and why. Both sides. I'm mentioning both sides of the table, right? Self and the other. When you do that, you avoid the unnecessary. What is the unnecessary? Overreaction, argument, right? Sometimes it can get physical, verbal, whatever it is. You don't want to cause the same harm that came your way, blasting it right back, right? Because as they say, two wrongs don't make a right.
That's right.
Two wrongs don't make a right. And I feel like if more people were to ask themselves these type of questions in many situations, they can actually avoid many situations and like you know making it worse. Now I want to give uh, a quick breakdown of that. Um, Examples like how is this person so sweet, nice, loving, and caring? That's maybe because they dealt with so much hurt. They would never want to make someone feel how they felt in the past in those dark moments, right? But then you also have the total opposite. Why is this person so rude, mean, dry, numb, um, cold, careless? I like to throw the additional words, you know, to make sure everyone gets it. Maybe they've experienced so much hurt that they're full of grudge, as I mentioned in the beginning. Grudges, anger, betrayal, depression, anxiety, that they want to transfer or rub their feelings onto others. In other words, in most cases, we're not going to say it's all cases. Misery loves company.
Yep.
And sometimes we can't blame the people that are in that stage, in that phase, because some can't pull themselves out. Some don't actually take or give, you know, the chance to be pulled out of that situation, whether, as I mentioned before, through therapy, right? Advice. You don't have to go to therapy because most people think when you go to therapy, you're crazy. Only crazy people go to therapy. No,
Yep.
people who are aware and actually want to learn more about themselves and people, you have to listen. I want people to think when they go to therapy is more of a let me try and hear and or receive advice from someone who does not know me and I don't know them. when you go to therapy, you look at it, you know what? Maybe if I talk to mom or dad or sisters or cousins, you know, they are my family. And when I go through it, they go through it, you know, maybe they're going to give me the reason. It's not always the case, but maybe they're going to give me the reason. Let me go ahead and go to someone who does not know me at all. Give that therapy session or therapy sessions a chance. And if it doesn't work for you, it's okay for you to walk away. You don't have to go back.
That's right.
Now, you know what? Let me go ahead and sign up and get this membership, gym membership. Maybe that'll work out. Breaking sweat, releasing so much tension. Maybe that'll help control my emotion, control myself, to gain clarity, right? Because when you're full of stress, full of a disorder, you know, when it comes to mental health, maybe you need an outlet, right? Just a form to release whatever it is that's going on in you. So you have enough space for what you're about to receive, which could be a solution. It can be a temporary relief or permanent. The more you do it, the more you change the habit, the more you're aware of. You know, and it's something that I want everyone to really, you know, let sink in. Let sink in. I also want to go ahead and put out there. There was one time in my life where, I mean, I was one that said, there's no reason to go to therapy, you know, at one point in my life. Because I'm like, why do I need therapy? You know, I have a supportive family. I come from great parents. I have amazing siblings, right? I have people to go to. You know, it's okay. I won't need the therapy. But you know, one day I just got up and said, you know what? The situation was, it was so bad that I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and take this step. And make a long story short, I didn't last more than a month because the therapist did say, you know, you have it figured out. You're aware of what the problem is. Now it's all about executing the solution, removing that person from your life, removing those people, changing the environment that you're in. Those hangouts
Wow.
are no good. Those hangouts are no good. But you came to me, and by session 2, you mentioned it yourself before I did. This was a therapist saying it to me, right? But they wanted to see if it was just the front that I was putting, just an image, which is why I had to do, I think it was like 5 sessions, 4 or 5 sessions. But they were like, no, you got it down pat. You got it down pat, but you have a lot of work to do because once you start applying exactly what you know, because you know exactly what, you know, I was told, you know exactly what it is that you need to do, but you're not applying it. You're letting things slide, right? The second you're making that change, you fall right back in the trap. The second you're trying to avoid that environment that you're in, which you know is no good, and the people that are in there, you go ahead and say, what's one day? You know, I'm hanging out a lot less. No, you have to cut it out completely. Cold turkey. There's a lot
Yep.
of things that you're able to go cold turkey on. I feel like you can go cold turkey on anything, but are you willing to deal with the withdrawal? Are you willing to deal with that sudden change that might affect your mood and it's going to cause mood swings? It's going to cause confusion, misunderstanding. It's going to cause you to remove yourself and stepping out of the comfort zone. And there's a video that I watch over and over, sometimes on a weekly basis, sometimes monthly, you know, whenever I have to like go ahead and reference back. And it's like, you have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to get real uncomfortable in order for you to gain the best version of you, to gain better experiences. You have to step out. You have to step out of your comfort zone. You know, are you used to the job that you're in? Why are you complaining about your pay? You're in the comfort zone. Go ahead and apply for another job. You're in a relationship right now. Why are you complaining about your partner for months, years? Are you communicating with them? See what I did there? You can't
Mm-hmm.
just get up and go. Now it changes. Are you communicating what you're feeling? Are you communicating what you're going through inside, what people can't see? Are you communicating what people cannot see? Because sometimes you think, oh, if I act a certain way, they'll get it. No, you need to start talking. You need to start talking to self as well. When this whole
Facts.
message, this whole episode today started with, who are you? Ask yourself. You're not crazy when you talk to yourself. And you don't have to do it out loud. Ask yourself mentally.
Yep.
Who are you? Who am I? Figure yourself out. Figure your situation out. Figure it out. And if you ever have trouble getting past that stage, where you feel you're stuck, pray on it. Pray on it. Let go and let God. It comes to a point where you have to let go and let God. But you can't just go ahead and give up. Because if you give up, where is that going to take you? It's going to keep you in that same dark place, in that same hole that you kept burying yourself in, and you continue to bury yourself in, and there's no way out. And when I want to go ahead and, when I say there's nowhere out, there's some people that think that suicide is a solution. There's people that think that sticking to yourself or, again, not communicating is the solution, when all you're doing is making your situation worse. So you have to go ahead and take on it, face it, accept it, and learn how to express yourself the right way. Express yourself, and again, the more awareness you have, the less people you hurt. You're also going to find that when you communicate these things, there is going to be some form of relief. But also keep in mind the words that you're using towards that person. Keep in mind what you're using, because even though you gain comfort and relief, you're damaging another person. You might be breaking another person. So it's also another thing you have to keep in mind. Big bro, we're going deep. Angie, what's up? What's up, prima?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going deep on that. And you know what? I think actually what you just mentioned right now is a perfect message for what we're dealing with in today's world. Because right now we live in a society which it's like, if you're not getting that immediate gratification in that moment, drop it. Like, if you know that this is a great opportunity at this job, let me be at this job. The moment somebody does something that gets on your nerves, I can't tell you. I know people that are being blessed with work, and what happens? They're looking to drop the job the moment something bad happens. But it's a blessing of a job. Mm-hmm. But it's like, oh, I didn't come here to deal with that. Are you serious right now? But there's people the same way in relationships who that is, listen, there is reason. Do not get me wrong. And you know this, little bro. There is reason. If you get married, that is not the end all be all, that you're sticking in that forever. There are reasons why you can, right? Mm-hmm. There are absolute reasons why you can get out of a marriage. Talking from a biblical Christian perspective. Does God, not like divorce? Absolutely. He doesn't like divorce. But does he give you, in his own word, reasons as to why you can get out? Absolutely. And that's why I tell people, if you're dealing with abuse, you don't need to be in that. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's so many different reasons why. But what happens is that's a big difference between that and, oh man, I don't like the way that they sleep. It's getting on my nerves. All of a sudden, my husband started snoring. or he's being real picky about his food. I can't deal with this. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like, what in the world are you talking about? Or,
And there's people that do that.
yo, I mean, I remember somebody one time that told me, you know what? When it comes to relationships, people can't stress too much over what you call it. Can't stress too much over what's going on with their relationship and these these breakups and whatever. I one time I broke up with my girlfriend over a bar of soap. I mean, I want you to think about that, bro. What? Like, what are you doing?
I'm not surprised, man. I'm not surprised because I've heard many stories, you know.
It's like they got upset. I don't even know all the story, but the bottom line is that a bar of soap was enough to create an argument that was the reason for them to break up. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like that does not make any sense. But right now, we live in a world, in a society where it's like, if it doesn't make me happy, right? And let's talk about it. A lot of what we see today, the marketing that you get is do what makes you happy, do what makes you happy, buy this because it's going to make you happy, be here because it makes you happy, get into this because it makes you happy, be in this relationship because it makes you happy, get out of this relationship because it doesn't make you happy, get out of this work because it doesn't make you happy. Don't go to the gym because you're miserable when you go to the gym, even though you know it's good for your health. The things that sometimes are good for you, you run away from. Case in point, the word of God tells you iron sharpens iron. That's painful. That's work. Go ask somebody that works with metals and stuff like that. Is it easy work? No. But iron sharpens iron, right? So what does that mean? If you're in a relationship, that's why we see power couples, bro. If you've ever seen somebody that you're like, oh my gosh, relationship goals, that's the power couple right there. Like, for real, look at this couple. He's on his grind. She's on his grind, on her grind. They're both blessed, blah, 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 blah. Yo, I guarantee you iron is sharpening iron right there. So there's moments in which he's probably doing stuff that is like, that she looks at and she's like, oh, I don't know about that, blah, blah, blah. And there comes a moment of friction that's going to help to make him better. The same way that he's like, yo, I don't think that you need to be buying them shoes. I don't think you need to be doing this. We could be better off with this or that. I'm sure that that's a moment when she was like, yo, I want to strangle dude because he's not allowing me to get what I want. But it's a moment in which iron is sharpening iron. If you don't break up over stupidness like that, you get past it, you're better off. Yo, the first few years of my marriage, my Lord, God help me, because he knows that like that was a struggle, and thankfully we are where we are today. But it was a struggle, bro. It was a struggle for so many different reasons. But it was an iron sharpens iron moment. And guess what? A lot of the struggles that we had is because I wanted things my way, she wanted things her way. And you think we we're made to want our own stuff. And it was like, I want to live my life this way, and you want to live your life this way. You grew up doing this way. I grew up doing things this, and it's like a clash, a constant clash. But now we're a million times better for sticking it out. The same thing with there's people that get into a business and think like, oh my gosh, I had this multi-million-dollar idea, and they feel that God leads them into a business, right? And they're like, this idea is gonna go gangbusters. Like this business is gonna go like ridiculous. And then the moment comes, and maybe they get a good amount of word of mouth between their friends and stuff like that, and a little bit of online marketing. They start making money. But once that dies down, nobody's buying, and the business is not doing well. So what happens? Most people give up. Most businesses close. Even those where you felt like God led you in a direction to go do that, you give up. Let me tell you, if God leads you in the direction and tells you to do something, if you feel that God is putting you at peace, like, yo, go do this, and you made that decision, you consulted, like, I don't want to move without him telling me and you know, without me feeling that. I always tell people, and you know, we hit people week after week. If you feel peace in that decision, God is going to be there, because where you have peace, that's where God is. You know what I'm saying? So if he guides you in that direction, what are you doing giving up? He's not gonna midway through tell you, no, don't do that. Even though I told you to go that way, but don't do it. The very word of God says, I know
It's easy
whatever
to
God
settle.
does is final. Whatever God does is final. So if God said, I want you to establish a business, or I want you to be in this marriage, again, there are reasons why you can get out, because people mess up, right? But if that's where God wants you to be, a lot of people, the moment you feel a little bit of heat, you want to get out. The moment
Yeah.
that the job really makes you work, you want to leave. The
Mm-hmm.
moment that the relationships gets difficult, you want to find your way out. The moment that that business starts struggling, this must be the end. Let me close up shop. For what? Because you don't want to do the work. And mind you, half the time, or maybe even more than that, go and ask God in that moment. You know what? It takes struggle for you to be like, what do you want me to do? The problem with most of us is, the moment we encounter the difficulty, it's like, let me find out how I can fix it. And if I can't fix it, let me give up. At what point are we coming and saying, yo, Lord, what do you want me to do? Because you led me in this direction, but what do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. What do you want me to do? You know? And we don't do that. You know why? Because it takes effort. Even coming to God and being like, let me ask for direction, takes effort. Let me ask what I'm doing wrong. Most of us don't want to find out what we're doing wrong. Again, going back to the very beginning, who am I? You don't want to find out who you are. You know why? Because you like being where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because for you to realize who you really are means that you are going to have to change something about your lifestyle. That's why you don't want to find out who you are. And the sad thing is, let's go back to the gym example, right? Bro, you ever gone to the gym when you haven't gone to the gym for a while, for a long while?
Mm-hmm.
You overweight.
Yeah.
You overweight. You don't got that stamina. You hit the treadmill for 2 minutes and you breathing hard. Tell me the first day you go, you want to go back to the gym again. You never do. The first day you
That
go, the
that
first
that
day
ache.
you
Yep.
go, and you feel that. Let's not even talk about the first day. You come all worn out. You go to the gym, you're there for like 25 minutes. You're beat. You don't want to do anything. You're like, oh my gosh. Oh, this gym wore me out. I'm so tired. That first day, you don't even want to go back. Guess what comes the next day or 2 days after? You start to feel that soreness. Them legs is hurting. Them arms is hurting. You're so tired. Do you want to go back that second day? No. That third day? Heck no. Especially if you're feeling sore. But what happens if you decide to stick with it? Because why do you go to the gym? Why do you do exercise? It doesn't necessarily need to be the gym. You could go walking. You could do exercise at your house, right? If you decide to stick with it, you start breaking a bad habit. Because guess why you don't want to go? You're where you are because you were following the wrong habit. You were eating stuff that you weren't supposed to eat excessively. You weren't getting any exercise for an extended period of time. You built a habit that goes back to what we were talking about initially. You weren't being fruitful in your health in this case, right? And then you get content in where you are because I could keep eating whatever I want and I could keep being lazy, right? Or I'm not even going to call it laziness. My schedule is so busy that I don't have to sacrifice this 30 minutes. Be transparent. That's where I am.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm so busy with personal life, with ministry, that I have not found, or rather, let me stop making excuses for myself. Transparency, right? I have not made the time, because when I finally get a moment, even if it's 11:30 at night, the last thing I want to do is, grab the Apple Watch, hit the fitness, do a P90X, do some jumping jacks, some push-ups, something. Yeah, just something to get it moving, right? I know what I need to do, but that requires sacrifice. Going back to original design, right? Going back to who am I? You need to let your current self die, like the word says, the Bible says. You need to let your current self die and be reborn. You need to be born again. You realize being born again means that you now want to walk in the way that Christ wants. That means you're trying to walk toward the image in which he made you. That's your image. Let me tell you something. You don't change in terms of like who you are in your core. You can look in the mirror, right? You could gain weight. You could lose weight. But if I look in the mirror, I'm going to recognize myself. At no point am I ever going to look in the mirror and look like you. Never. There will never be a moment in which I am going to look in the mirror and be like, I don't recognize myself. I look like Joaquin. That's where we're messed up. We don't realize who we are. And instead of a mirror, the enemy got a billboard in front of you telling you this is who you are. And you don't want to make the sacrifice of tearing that billboard down to say, this is not who I am. There's a mirror behind that billboard. I'm something else. That requires you to tear it down. Tear down, and for some of y'all, this is going to hit hard. Tear down, instead of focusing on the image of God, you've built an idol. What is an idol? A lot of people think an idol is a person or an idol is a thing, right? Anything that takes you away from God is an idol. Anything. So guess what? You know, and again, you're never going to be perfect, but you know, when you ask the question of who am I? I'm somebody that's made in the image of God. I need to have the relationship with the Lord so that I can realize who I am and be able to walk in what he said that I can walk in, so that I can have the power that he has to be able to do what he did and even greater, because he told me to be fruitful and multiply, because he is fruitful and multiplies, because he always makes everything work for his good. So I need to understand who I am so that I can make everything work for my good, because I love him and I want him to be able to have glory. So that means that I need to be able to be successful in what I'm doing so that he can be glorified, which in terms blesses me. But that means that I need to have the relationship with him in order to realize that potential. But the world has told me that I'm okay being this, that I'm okay about making it about me, that I'm okay not sacrificing to make myself better in these different areas of my life. And I'm okay continuing to make excuses.
Society and distraction.
Because the excuses will allow me to feel okay about myself. And if I feel okay about myself, I will be happy. That is the biggest lie in your life. Because if you can die to yourself and realize that image of myself that I'm looking at is fake, and the real one is the one that's truly going to give me success, no matter what situation you encounter. Because remember, we talked about that you were going to encounter bad situations, but there's going to be a difference. The one here is never used to encountering those difficulties, because you're always making excuses to make it better, right? The real version of you is going to be equipped to deal with all the difficulties. Because worst case scenario, the biggest weapon that you'll have is the faith that you are going to see something better. That's because you understand who you really are at that point. Is the journey going to be difficult? Yes. Is it going to be painful? Yes. But even that's a moment of iron sharpens iron. I'm going to be sharpened out of that. I'm going to be better off of that. I'm going to be lifted up out of that. I'm going to lift others up out of that. I don't know how many people feel that they have been blessed by how God has used me on this platform, or those that have heard me preach. That didn't happen. You wouldn't be experiencing that if iron didn't sharpen iron. If the difficulties that I mentioned like half an hour ago, if I didn't go through those difficulties, if I didn't go through that process and continue right now in this moment to go through that process, nothing would be sharpening me. Guess what? God is sharpening me and lifting me out. A lot of people, we've heard testimonies week after week. A lot of people have been lifted out because of a word that God has given through this platform. That does not happen if I'm making excuses. And instead of realizing who I am, I'm making excuses as to why I deserve to be who I am right now, not who God told me that I am. A lot of people don't know. I think only a few know from the early days of this platform. I think I shared the story. When God called me to do ministry and when God called me into pastoring, I did not feel that I was worthy of pastoring. I did not feel that I was worthy of preaching. I did not feel that, I felt that I needed to be at another level of perfection in order to be able to be used by God, in order to be able to bless other people. And I struggled with that. And I really ended up battling, where there came a point in time where I said to myself, I need to tell my pastor that he's wrong, that what God told him about me is incorrect, that it's impossible that God can use me because I'm so flawed and I have so many issues. And how can I talk to people if I've got things, if I'm being attacked in all these different areas of my life? That's because the enemy wanted me to feel that I was not enough. The enemy wanted me to feel that I was a failure, and that I was a failure because it was my fault. It took dreams and visions during prayer, really connecting with God, for God to come out and say, you didn't lift yourself up into ministry and into the calling that I have for you. I chose you. There's a big difference there. When you think that you're going to accomplish the things in the direction that God wants you to go because you do it, you're wrong. When you realize that He's chosen you to do what He's calling you to do, big difference. Because when you have to do it yourself, you believe you have to work into getting there, getting into that goal. When He says, I'm choosing you to do this, you realize that no matter how much you mess up, how insignificant you feel, how many issues you have in your life, He chose you to do it. He doesn't make mistakes. What he does is final. That doesn't come from me. That comes from him. He says, what I do is final. Stop thinking less of yourself and making the excuse why you are somewhere or why you deserve to be there, when God has something entirely different to say about you and the situation. And nobody even needs to give you some crazy prophetic word. I don't need to come in and tell Jay, oh, you're gonna be fruitful in all these different things, and guess what? You're gonna be a blessing to people. I don't need to tell you a bunch of different things. I don't need to come to you with something crazy. I could come with you with the easiest thing, which was the basis of what we came. Yo, God made you in his image and he told you to be fruitful and multiply. So guess what? I believe your business is going to do well. I believe that you're going to do great things in ministry. I believe that your family is going to be fruitful and multiply in all areas of their life. I believe that you're going to see a restoration in all kinds of health. I believe that you're going to do all these things. This is for everybody who's connected right now. All those things are going to happen because I know what God says about you, because it's in the very word. I don't need to get some crazy revelation from God in terms of who you are and what you need to do and where you need to be. You will receive that because God's word says that you're going to receive it. Because God don't lose. He's never lost. So where do you get off on thinking that you're going to be stuck where you are forever? Who's telling you that? For real. Why are you buying into a different image? Who are you allowing to tell you who you are? Stop making the excuse. If you're not being successful in what you're doing in your life, if you just find failure after failure after failure, and it's bad relationship after bad relationship, bad job after bad job, bad this, bad that, everything just seems wrong, it's time to evaluate. And I think the biggest thing that you need to evaluate is, have a come to Jesus moment, for real. Realize that you are made in his image, men and women, both. This is not a male thing. If somebody out there is like, oh no, that's only for men, please stop it. This is everybody. He made all of us in his image. Just stop. Okay? And when you realize that, what you need to do is give me revelation in terms of who you are. I need a relationship with you to find out who you are. Because in everything, he will reveal to you in everything who you are. And then once he starts to reveal to you who you are, look at all those areas of your life and know that's the direction that you need to go. That's it. That's all you got to do. It sounds easy because it is easy. It's just the path is difficult because there's a lot of dying that you need to do because you're in the bad habit. You haven't been exercising it. You've got a bad habit of 15, 20, 30, 40 years. Some of y'all are in your 50s and 60s. You've been living a life, maybe every area of your life, maybe certain areas of your life, where you have learned the bad habits and you've been living like this is who I am. That's why we're having this conversation today. Because God is saying, who told you that's what you are? And he's asking, get that out of your head. Let's have an honest conversation. Who are you? Who are you? Chains break when you realize who you are. Again, remember, slave mentality, we talked about that not too long ago. Slave mentality early in this conversation. A lot of slaves didn't leave the plantation because they lived so long as slaves that they thought that was their life. That's what they deserved. In fact, they were afraid of leaving because they thought, if I leave, who's going to take care of me? Like, yeah, I'm getting whooped here, but I can sleep and I got something to eat. But there were those who were bold, who moved, who allowed themselves to be free and left. But do you know that after the Civil War happened in the United States, there were slaves who still didn't want to leave? They were being told you're free, like it's over, and they still didn't want to leave. Some of y'all are getting the message tonight that you need to realize who you are, and you're like, but I don't want to leave. It's too familiar to you, and you're going to end up killing yourself on that. Metaphorically speaking, I hope. We don't want no suicide or nothing like that. And again, if you feel that need, people care. I care. Hit me up. We've said it before, the DMs are open. Hit me up. I don't care if it's 3 a.m. and you having suicidal thoughts, and all you have done is been on this platform and we've never talked. Hit me up. But there are going to be, if you don't realize that you are made for so much more, you're so much more than what you said, what you think you are. For real.
And we say it all the time, to make sure and send the DM, because we all know the time where it's the darkest times is when you're lonely, late at night, right? We know what happens overnight. Feel free to just hit us up anytime.
And it's all because you've been living a lie. It's all because, and it's not your fault. I'll be the first one to tell you, it's not your fault that you've been living that lie. All of us, every single one of us in different areas of our life. Wherever you're failing, that's not the life you're supposed to be living. Again, will you encounter dark seasons? We talked about this earlier. Yes, you will have bad seasons. Mm-hmm. God gave you the go-ahead on that. He gave you the heads up. But you need to realize that season's not forever. There's the difference. And he can equip you for that season. And even in that bad season, you're going to rejoice. I'm telling you, man, there's people that are going to have better health tonight, physically and mentally. I declare that those chains of bad health are gone, so gone. There's people that are going to get rid of toxic relationships because those toxic relationships have been telling you that you are somebody that you're not. And God says something so different about you. But they've been holding you back. They've been telling you, you can't do it. You're not equipped to do this. Anybody that tells you that you're not equipped to do it, who is telling you that? Because if God calls you to do something, he's going to equip you to do it. Now, again, ask direction. But you'll start to get direction when you have relationship. And again, that's the problem. You don't know who you are because you don't even have relationship.
And you know what? There's a few viewers that we have today who did come in late. For this message, I can actually use the intro as the outro. So I want to go ahead and make sure that everyone's listening in who missed it in the beginning. Today's message was, who am I? Right? As Pastor Carlos mentioned, we broke down on this episode, you have to figure out who you are, identify the issues, the problems, and execute the solution. Who am I? Have you taken the time to find yourself, to get to know you, to understand who you are, why you are the way you are, why you think or behave a certain way, why you move how you move? Have you taken the time to accept you for who you are? This means your past, your appearance, in other words, the skin you're in, body type, weight, features, the trauma, the confusing or hurtful moments, complexities of life in general, just you overall. Who are you? once we get this and get a grasp, as I mentioned before, we can't get a full grasp of ourselves because as we live throughout the years, we tend to find out more and more about ourselves. If you feel like you figured yourself out, you're totally wrong. There's always going to be a new version of you. There's always going to be a better version of you. And if you're not careful, it can be the worst version of you, which is why going back to the mental health, emotional health, physical health is very important, right? And spiritual, of course. Finance comes after because without health, there's nothing. Um, Again, once we get this and get a grasp of who we are, we can identify, add, or subtract people, places, and things from our lives, anything that's affecting us. Most importantly, making those internal changes needed. Remember the internal change, what the people cannot see, what others cannot see. Making those internal changes needed in order for us to grow, develop, and create stability in multiple areas of our lives mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, despite of our past and experiences. So now going back, always ask yourself, who am I? And remind yourself who you are. It doesn't matter where you came from, what you experienced, who you were. It matters who you are today. Take the time to look at yourself and tell yourself, I am who you say I am based on what you know. Therefore, careful with what you've been told and with what you think you know. Instead, hear me out and walk a mile in my shoes. So I'm going to repeat that one more time. I am who you say I am based on what you know. Therefore, careful with what you've been told and with what you think you know. Instead, hear me out or walk a mile in my shoes. This goes for the people, this goes for everyone, but especially for those who are worried about what other people think and what other people are saying, because that too tends to destroy us as individuals. We have to be extremely careful. That's how we started today's episode, and we really dug deep today.
And I think if we have anybody that has any comments, that wants to join, there's something that they have to say, feels that
Definitely.
God is leading them to add something, just know you can hit the request to join. You can send the message via the comment box at the bottom. The same if you want to make it more, more anonymous. You can keep it completely anonymous. Just hit the little, bubble with the question mark there, and you can send an anonymous message right now. We just want to make sure that if somebody feels that there's something to add, that you come on and just share it because you will be a blessing to others. We talked earlier, this is about lifting people up. When you realize that God is made you in an image, right? In his image, that means that you are going to realize he made all of us in that image. And when you see that people are not walking in that image, you're going to realize, I want to lift other people up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to lift them up because we are going to be better off by doing so. Okay? We're going to be able to do that. We're going to be better off by being able to do that. So just recognize that. So just know if you feel that God has something to say through you, request to join right now. We'll get you on. If not, if you just have a comment, drop the comment in there. If you feel that you need a prayer request, drop it in there or put it in the little, in the little anonymous question. Remember, there's never bad questions. Everybody needs prayer too. Never hurts to go ahead and request prayer as well. But we just want to make sure that we know that you have something that's going to be a blessing to others. So this is your opportunity before we sign off to be able to do that. Because we know that a lot of times your testimony or what you have to say is going to be able to reach somebody that perhaps we can't reach. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
so definitely don't hold off if you feel that that's the case. But that's why we're here, including you. That's why you're here right now, is to be able to be a blessing to other people. Do you want to read some of those comments while we wait to see if anybody requests to pop on?
Let me see. I see. Okay, Ilma, I'm working on it. Wait a second. Hold on. I almost made a huge mistake. Almost kicked her out of the live by clicking. Yeah, we don't want that. So I'm working on it. We are always evolving. So true. Keith said thanks. Amen. They're loving the message. While I read the comments, if everyone can just go ahead and drop a heart if you felt today's message, while we wait as well to see if anyone wants to go ahead and join. Let's see. Life could be so beautiful and amazing once you walk with God. Amen. Angie, I love you guys.
Much love,
Love you
Angie.
too.
Much
Love you
love,
too.
cuz.
Big shout outs to Angie. You're both so anointed. Angie, once again, thank you. Prima, thank you. Love you. Let's see. Did
Appreciate
I
it.
miss anything? We are all made in the image of God. Irma, once again.
Yep. Just got to realize it.
Yeah. I see we have Corinne on. What's going on, Corinne? Julie Jules, and
Let me just double check here on Facebook. Make sure we don't have anybody on
yeah, I was just
Facebook
gonna mention that.
with the
Yeah.
comment.
While Pastor Carlos checks Facebook and YouTube for comments, we're on every week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Also, please, if you can, share the live. You never know who needs to receive the message.
Absolutely.
Every Thursday, it's like that boost, to just keep going. You basically got over the hump. We provide the platform on Thursday, and just keep it going on a day to day, reminding ourselves, just helping each other, grow, helping each other deal with whatever obstacles we have on that week or just in life in general. This is what we're here for. This platform wouldn't be anything without you all who watches. For those, like Ima said, if you got in late, it's never too late. It's fine. You got in right on time, and whatever you missed, we always upload our videos on YouTube shortly after the live is over, so you can go ahead and just catch up on whatever you missed.
Facts. Yeah, we're clear here on
Good.
YouTube and Facebook. So
Sounds good. All right. Once again, another successful episode 24. Episode 24. We appreciate everyone who joined us, who took the time to join us tonight. We're hoping to see you next week, Thursday. Once again, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific. And for those who can't join, always look out. I'm starting to put the YouTube channel down in the bottom. I pin it. That way you can go ahead and just, copy and paste it, save it in your notes. Feel free to type it in. Subscribe on YouTube. We also encourage for everyone, of course, if you can, support us with the badges. It's basically supporting the platform. It helps us continue to bring the message and just to bring more content, especially with how we're growing this platform. There's going to be a lot more that we will be offering in the near future. So we would greatly appreciate the badges via Instagram.
absolutely. And just, real quick, before we wrap up, again, the main question today was, asking that question to yourself of who you are, who you are. Again, some of you are going through great seasons. Others are going through difficult seasons. Some are in between. Some things are great. Some things are not, right? It's different seasons in different areas of your life, which is completely understandable. But as you ask yourself that question, if you didn't get a chance to ask yourself that question during the live, if you came a little late when that question was being asked, just go and analyze, ask yourself, who am I? And come down to the very realization that once you evaluate in all areas of your life, who you are. Remember that what God says, and again, this is instructional. Some of us never knew this. Some of us have just forgotten. Who am I? I'm somebody that's made in God's image. He made you in God's image, all of us in God's image. And he made us that way because he wanted us to be fruitful and multiply. That means that in every area of our lives, he wanted us to be fruitful, to bear fruit, to see great things come out of that, be able to multiply it, understanding that there would be good seasons and bad seasons, but he would equip us for all those seasons. Once you understand that you're made in his image, you start to capture all the other things. That he said that you will do great things. You will do greater things because he's calling you to be able to do that. That means that you're going to have great relationships. That means that you're going to have a great family. That means that you're going to do well with your finances. That means you're going to do well in every area of your life where you feel that you're doing well, and every area of your life where you feel that you're struggling. You're meant to be doing well. Because if you're doing well, you're being fruitful in that area. And things are going to multiply out of that, and that's going to glorify him. But you have to come to the realization, am I being fruitful? Number one, do I know who I am? Am I recognizing that I'm made in his image and what that means? And if you don't realize that, or maybe you've realized it and you're struggling, all of us struggle, walk in the relationship, walk in the direction of having a relationship with him, building that relationship with him, right? And as you build the relationship with him, you're going to get to know him more. You're going to have the realization as to who you are. And that's when you're going to be able to make those changes that you need to make. So if you're struggling to have that relationship, again, just pray, have a regular conversation with him. Read the word, ask him, who are you? Reach out to us. We can give you direction on that. Because you're much more than what you are right now. Somebody said earlier, we're always evolving. We're constantly having changes in our lives. We're becoming a better version of ourselves. We're never going to be perfect, but we will always have a better version because we are going to continue to refine ourselves, iron sharpening iron, being made in his image. And that's going to lead you to walk in more power than what you're walking in right now, which is what we want for you. We all want that. So I declare blessing over the lives of everybody that's on with us tonight, anybody that's going to see this later, anybody you share to. And I declare that we're going to see testimony as you start to recognize, as you ask that question to yourself, who am I? As you start to have that realization and you start to build that with the relationship that you have, we're going to hear testimony in terms of who you are and what you're walking in, what power you're walking in once you realize who you are. And you're going to be a blessing. Your testimony is going to be a blessing to everybody that's on with us, everybody that's around you, your family, your kids, your nieces, your nephews, your friends, your co-workers, everybody.
Amen.
They are going to see the change. And we're going to see the testimony of that. So God bless everybody who's connected with us tonight. Just declare that blessing over your lives and just ask yourself that question and meditate on that. Who am I? And what do I need to do to restore who I'm supposed to be?
Amen. Amen. Well, once again, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. Everyone have a good night. And may everyone have a great and blessed week. And always remember, patience is a virtue and faith is the substance. We'll see you next week for episode 25.